Hi, everyone. Welcome back to whatever episode of Cosmic Concierge we are recording today. My name is Cheryl. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm not like fucking weird about it. Like, I'm not going to come into your experience and interrupt you while you're in the deep of a vulnerable share to like make sure you got my words correct. But I will invite you into a deeper relationship and understanding with me if you repeatedly use the wrong name for me. Just like if you called me Steve over and over and over again, I'd be like, hey, actually, my name's Cheryl. If you want to be in relationship with me, please practice getting that right. Yeah, I'm not that kind of weird person. So that sets the tone of what to expect when you're listening to these episodes or turning up in my space. I am so excited for today's conversation. It was really funny when we were trying to make it work. Time zones are so made up, but also we live on like the opposite side of the northern hemisphere. So it's always really fun to be like, is it daylight savings time? Are you always 8/8.5 hours ahead of me? Which part is the half? I think that's just this part. I don't know. What's going on. Anyway, so it was just like really fun to schedule with our guests today, but I will always and forever interrupt the convenience of my Pacific Coast schedule to talk to this human, because when you meet someone and they're the same flavor of weird as you without either of you having to explain it and you just know, it doesn't matter. You become very grateful that the internet exists and also wish teleportation was already invented. So my guest today is Kaz, and we met inside of a community/certification program. It's a chicken or the egg situation. I don't really know which one came first because we were both at the stage in our journey where we were a little wallflowery because we were like, why are we in this room with all of these Coachella spiritual fairy whimsical pixie dust folks, except also we like them. And so it was really fun. And that was, like 4 or 5 years ago? Time is real and made up, friends. And I have the divine pleasure, and I really do mean that, I'm not being hyperbolic, that we've gotten to watch each other and cheer for each other and cry with each other and freak out with each other as we continue to go deep into the human experience and fully embrace our creative expression where there's like no rules, and have like rebirth after rebirth after rebirth. But is it really a rebirth, or is it just like the next stage in the journey of who we are becoming and what we're here to do? And so I love people who are like this. I love people who love to dive to the end of something, whether it's fandom, whether it's what's the word? Smutty novels, whether it's herbs, whether it's tarot, whether it's tech, whether it's branding, art, expression, taboo things like AI. Like, we both are investigative people and we like to master things before we make judgments about them. And just before we hopped on the call, I was like, I feel like that's part of where this conversation is going to go. But before we get there, I need you to know that even if I never coached again, even if I never made another podcast again, it is still on my whiteboard. For people listening to the left of me, where I'm sitting on the floor in my room right now recording, there's a huge whiteboard. And on it, it literally says Scotland, and then Kaz and Haley underneath it. So like it's my version of a vision board, and it's just all the shit I write on there is stuff I don't have the money for yet. And so it's on there. It will happen. It's not getting erased until it happens. So yeah. Kaz, welcome to Cosmic Concierge. I have no idea what's going to happen in our 30/40 minutes together, but I'm so grateful you're here. Tell people in your own words, what makes you excited to be here today?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for that introduction. You know, I love you to the ends of the planet and beyond. So in my own words, what do? I call myself a creative brain for hire. And literally, like you said, I like to get in about it I want to know how things work, why they work, how to break it, how to fix it, all of the things, with the big, strong emphasis, which I've had across my whole life and across all the work that I do, about how we show up and how we express ourselves in whatever way that is, whether that's through branding, through tarot cards, through oracle decks, however it shows up. So this is a super fun conversation to have with you, because I know that there are so many things that that you and I could talk about for forever, 100%. And you're a wonderful person to have conversations with. I just want to preface that, because you have a wonderful way of approaching questions and directing conversations in a way that feels non-judgmental, as well as getting into the depths of what someone's all about. And I've known that from the first day that I met you, and the day that I got to meet you for real was like,
oh, that was such a good day.
This person, like, I love this person. Can I keep them?
Yes.
So yeah.
I asked my wife, and she said yes.
Excellent. I'll keep you both, though. I would love to have you both.
One thing that I didn't expect in this project was some flavor of people reflecting back to me the gift of why I'm the one to do this. And I don't mean that in an egotistical way. I mean that for all the reasons that you said. It's ingrained in me. I can't help it.
Yeah.
It's part of how I'm wired. And one of the things I love that you and I share is we like to know how and why not ourselves. Like, we like to know, why am I so like this?
Yeah. Why do I react this way? Why do I respond this way? Why do other people react this way?
And
like,
how can I help myself to not have shame around it? And so one of the things that I love about you is because you've taken yourself on that journey, and still on it, we'll be on it until we die. That's just being a human. You have, in the time that I've known you, reinvented sort of your perceived online persona a few times. To me, it's not a reinvention, because I mimic that process as well. It's like, you know better, you integrate, and then you share. You know better, you integrate, and then you share. You deconstruct, you throw out the stuff that doesn't work, you put it all back together, and you bring it back. I would love for you to express, like, what's happening for you right now that is so real in that theme.
Yeah, so I think every time I've gone through that kind of re-expression of myself, rather than like rebranding, it's expressing myself or an attribute of myself differently. So whether that's different seasons, whether that's different ways I'm teaching things, I like to show up to like create sort of an energetic world around that expression, if that makes sense. So right now I'm leaning in a lot to re-exploring my own creativity and my own creative energy, because I've really felt really kind of disconnected from it in the last sort of 6 months, where I really became super aware of how I had forgotten how to express myself.
Okay, yeah.
Like, I wrote a post and I was so proud of myself. I wrote this post all by myself. I didn't use any AI. And immediately someone said, "Did AI write this?" I was like, holy, I sound like AI because I've used it so much. I've relied on it so much. I've used it to fill in the blanks and to direct my creative expression, that now I was like, I don't know how, do I not know how to do this anymore? Like, what is going on? So I'm really in a season of reconnecting to being able to express myself authentically again, and tapping back into what it actually means to be expressed and fully expressed online. So that's the kind of season that I'm in, and I'm giving myself full permission to just go, what kind of mood am I in today?
I've been loving the content that you've been putting out, because similarly to me, like, I got curious about AI before it really took off. Before everyone started adopting it and everyone was still scared of it the way they were when we went from dial-up to plug-in internet. And everyone thought the whole world was going to die. And I mean, one, they're not wrong, but they're also a little bit wrong. That it was going to change everything and that it was going to make things harder for people. And also, I literally would not be here if it were not for what internet gave me. As a late discovered autistic person, a person who grew up with complex trauma, who moved a lot, who was from a rural village. Like when I graduated from high school, there was 26 people in my grad year and 5 of us were adults. I'm from the middle of nowhere, interior West Coast Canada. And I would not have been able to graduate high school with the completed credits in education. I would not have been able to meet people all over the world. I would not have been published. I wouldn't have started writing. Like I'm from the blogspot.ca era of blogging. It's still out there somewhere in the deep, dark recesses of the web. If you want to go read some slightly religious, angsty teen poetry about me being in unrequited love situations, go find it. Have a great time and send me a screenshot. Tag me on Instagram. It'll be hilarious. So like none of that would have happened to me had internet not existed. Every time a new tool or gadget comes out, I want to figure out how it works. And once I learned certain things about generative large language model AI in particular, I had to pause and I had to go, is this in alignment with my values and its current iteration? Which parts are and which part aren't? And then I found out that some of my own published works had been fed to specifically Meta's AI without my permission. And it like made me so mad because I only sold like 11 of those poetry books and they were like $5.99 and like, seriously, this billion-dollar company stole my work to train the thing. So like whenever someone says, is this AI? You write like AI. No, bitch, AI writes like me. Thank you, first of all. And second, yeah, I do get the cadence, but the reason it writes like that is because it's sales psychology, not because it's AI. Like people are giving it a very specific prompt and getting an outcome. And you and I know that. It's different. Our level of understanding is different than the average person when it comes to that. But also, it was a tool. And we went in and we both went into our respective zone of genius in the Gen AI and we got into its nooks and crannies. And I still was just like, I can't solve the environmental problems of this. Am I okay with it or am I not okay with it? And so I'm not anti-AI. I'm anti-extractive exploitation, which is a completely different problem. So if you're listening to this episode or watching this episode and you're like, oh no, here they go, talking about AI again, I need you to realize that Kaz and I are of the same aligned values where we try to the best of our ability in a world that's run by the patriarchy currently to not be exploitative or extractive of other people. And so you can't know everything about a person based on what tools they've used to create the stuff that they're doing. So please, please, please take a minute, put judgment in your pocket, and maybe listen to the whole episode before you make a conclusion. Because I learned graphic design to a point, like inside of Canva, inside of other things. I learned about generative images from you. And I learned the difference between the ethical frameworks of various kinds of tools from you in those spaces. So you are not the kind of person who's taking a shiny new toy regardless of the impacts on the world. Like, you know the ins and outs, and you've made like an aligned conscious decision for you. And that's the best all of us can do. One thing that I'm really sad to see happening to you in the comments, it hasn't been bad yet or they've been deleted, is a bit of this AI witch hunt.
Yes.
That really bothered me.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. It's very interesting to see the people that are doing it, who I happen to know personally, because I know what you're referring to, that this person used and uses AI and are literally studying it. But like you say, I think the whole conversation around AI and its usage it's about the intentionality of why and how we're using it. Like you say, I think it's really important to not take someone's work and put it into an AI and go like, make me an image like based off of this. Do you know, like that's just for me a hard no. Like it's a completely hard no.
Yeah, your process is consent based, and that's one of the reasons I like it.
Yeah. And I think it's always been very important for me that I've used AI because of my lack of artistic skill. Like up
And
here,
the fact that you out that means people can't hold it against you. You're like, no, that's why I'm using it. But you, like, I cannot put a prompt in and get an image you would get. There is a level of skill to what you're doing. You are not the rando on the internet who's like, hey, insert AI name here. Please make me a this, of a this, of a this. And then you just take whatever it spits out. You're like, I've just given you a 30-page dissertation on the sound that the leaves make when I step on them. Please create that into an image, which is like a completely different thing, right?
It's a totally different world, I think, is that expressing something that's already lives in your head and you are just making visual, then going, oh, that's a nice piece of art, let's just recreate it. It's a completely different intentionality. And I think that's where the dissonance between creative expression is being lost, right? Because we're not expressing what's up here. We're going, I like how that person has expressed themselves. Let's copy it. And that's a totally different, there's a totally different conversation, in my personal opinion. It doesn't just apply with graphics, right? It applies to everything. It applies to music, which can be created by AI now, captions, writing, books, images, illustration, like the whole works. It's more about using it, like you said earlier, like using it as a tool to create something by your direction. Yeah. Not a go search the internet and make me the average of these 50 people.
This same conversation was happening when they first came out with digital artist tools. Like I remember when everybody first started doing all of their digital painting, sketching, all of that stuff, when photos started getting edited to the nth degree using presets and lighting. This was the exact same conversation that artists were having then. They were like, well, now that means that anybody can go and do what I do. There was a little bit of this idea of the cheapening of artist skill, and this idea that the people who were using these digital tools wouldn't otherwise be able to create art. There was like just so much like elitism and gatekeeping. And valid criticism, because part of the satisfaction and part of the process of creating very deep, beautiful art of any kind, whether it's words, whether it's painting, whether it's photography, sculpture, architecture, a garden, whatever, is the depth of time and intention and refinement that happens. However, and I know that you teach us how to access that level of depth, how to refine, how to articulate better. One project that you just did recently that I think it just got buried by the world events that were happening at the same time. I really, truly, there's something, listeners, watchers, there is something that happens when you reset your own brand and your own voice. The algorithm gets confused for a minute. And some of you need to go back and look at this project, but you're still in it maybe. Anyway, you were playing with the senses and you were trying to get us to be curious on how to invoke and express the different felt senses, which, you know me, I love that because that's the root of the work that I do, is to get people back in touch with their felt senses. I call it the 5+1 because, you know, it's your sight, sound, touch, whatever, blah, 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 those ones. And then spirit. So for me, it's like the 5+1 senses. And for you, maybe there's like 3 more that I'm unaware of because your stuff is so layered. But Can you speak to your passion behind invoking all of the senses? Because right now, what's really loud for me in the online branding and marketing is people are being like, you have to be visual only. You have to stop everyone in their scroll in the first 3 seconds. And if your images aren't high level enough, no one's going to buy from you. I can tell you that's a crock of shit because my images are not high level. And I don't use manipulative copywriting, and I sold out 8 months in a row. And then, so there's that one. And then the other one is like, if you're not speaking only to the people only ready to hire you right now, then you're failing. And it's like, no, also no, because not every single flavor of human is exactly the same. So could you talk about the senses and branding and what's important for us to know about that right now?
So I think the biggest importance, and this really follows directly from the conversation about AI and expression, is that having a presence, whether that's on video, in your branding, etc., that is different than everyone else is creating. Because if you're using AI for everything, you all look the same. Sorry,
Yep.
not sorry. But people want human experiences. We're connective people, like just at our base. We like to connect with people. We like to know that we're seen, we're heard, and that we're reflected in other people. And for me, this really came from extracting parts of my day-to-day life that I just thought were normal.
Yeah.
And other people going, holy shit, like where do you
what
live? What do you do?
You're
Like
basically like a cottage princess. What?
And for me, that's because I live a very sensorial life. Right? I'm very, like you said, like my own flavor of spicy. I'm very tactile. Like I'm always touching something, probably that I shouldn't be, but I'm always touching something. Like fabrics and things are very important to me personally, but I'm also quite sensitive to smell. And so I started studying all about the senses. I was like, I want to know, as we said earlier, I want to know how I'm affected by these things and why am I affected by these things and what, like on a neuroscience level, like what kind of effect is this having for me? And can I use it in a way that benefits and leverages me, the work I do, the work that other people are doing? And the truth is that absolutely, yes, it can. Because a lot of people that are making pretty images that are using ChatGPT are making beautiful 2D images. That is it. Like people aren't looking at those and going, like, if I could step through the screen right now, like, I bet I could smell it, you know, I could touch those flowers. And it comes down to like the language you use, the music you use, like the intentionality behind everything that goes into a brand, whether it's just online or whether it's in person, which I think is going to make a huge comeback.
Yeah,
and
I'm
not
feeling
just
the in-person shift real.
Yeah, and it's not just going to be big events. I genuinely think that small, intimate events are going to be massive for the next couple of years. And those are our prime opportunities to really give people full body sensory experiences. And as someone, and I know you'll get this, who is hyper aware of their surroundings, of noise levels, of how it smells, how it looks, whether it's overstimulating, all of those things, you need to craft and create a space that feels safe for the people that are coming into it, but also leverages a transformative space for the work that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Setting the intention the second someone walks through the door for what kind of experience they're going to have with you, and also gives them a way to remember you and the work and the transformation, the results they're going to get in that room with you, with the people that you're with. And I'm super passionate. I think it's so overlooked in the industry.
I think so too. And part of it is because a lot of us are still running on the one marketing course we took in 2021, which was more about done is better than perfect, get this out, create the thing, and then we're supposed to refine. We're supposed to go back. We're supposed to and please take supposed to gently. The English is a limiting language. What I mean by this is the point of the human experience is to gather data, refine, and live it embodied. Not every single one of us is here for the exact same journey. Not every single one of us is here to work with the exact same people. And so when we keep chasing the AI trends versus using it in a way that actually aligns for us, or not using it at all, if that's our truth, that's okay, because there are people here who need the work that you or I do, the flavor of self-ownership, embodiment, and being sarcastic, kindness, skin on out in the world. They need our stuff, but the people who are 100% AI, big business, rich people, whatever, are bad. They need the same truth. They're going to get it from their people. What we don't need to do is start thinking that all of us are the enemy of each other. Because guess what? For every one person who doesn't love AI, there's someone who completely does, and they also need authentic expression. They also need permission to be all of themselves, and they also need to find their place in the world in a way that gives them purpose, because humans are, unfortunately, fortunately, different than other animals on planet Earth. And we have a layer of creative expression. And I think that AI, as it is right now, is in its infancy at helping us to, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not accessibility, but almost equalize the availability for nuanced depth expression. I am not of the mind that AI is any worse or better than Facebook or Meta or TikTok or any other digital tool used for expression. Any tool can be used for good or evil. Anyone, any single one. You could use a shovel for good or for evil. You could use a pencil for good or for evil, with words or not. One time when I was, oh gosh, how old were we? This was before the internet was in every house. It was late 90s. I was sitting downstairs with my brother, and we were being kids who were unsupervised in the 90s. You're welcome, everyone listening. And he threw, holding the pointy end of the pencil, he tossed it across the room, and it hit me pointy side right in the eye. It was unintentional to actually hit me. You know, the way you just toss something at your sibling, your kids, your pet, your spouse, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, that was so bad. Pencils can be used for good or evil as well. Does that mean that no one should ever use pencils ever again because one time I get hit in the eye? No. Does it mean that I definitely beat up my brother before I went to bed? Yes. I feel like AI is the same way, and I don't want to get stuck here, but I feel like it's an important conversation that people aren't having because it's so polarizing and everyone's afraid to admit that they live somewhere in the middle. Because here's the thing. This is a roughly truth. There's no such thing as good or evil. There's impact and intent. I do not actually believe that there are evil humans. I believe that there are disempowered people who are trying to use power, money, status, control, whatever. They're deep in their shadow. They have not realized that they're part of all of humanity. They have not realized that we're all the same. They have not realized many things. And do I think that they're making shitty choices? Yes. Do I think that those shitty choices are impacting other people? Also, yes. Do I think that they're evil? No, because I have done shitty things that have hurt people from a place of wounding. The only difference is I don't have $2 billion and I'm not standing to lose control over things, right? So when we get into this nuance and this nitty gritty and everyone's trying to get us to pick a side, How are you navigating that as a person who has people from multiple worldviews that are your friends, that are your colleagues, that are your clients? How are you sticking true to like your own authentic expression in a world that really just wants everyone to pick a side right now?
Pretty much, I just refuse. I refuse to pick a side. You can't make
I'm a
me
circle. You can't make me pick a side.
right. I think it is about being open and honest about how and where and when I am using AI. Like, I would die if I had to send every email myself and I didn't have like automation.
Oh
Right.
yeah,
I
I
think
use
like
automation, note taking, summaries.
now see, that for me is the perfect example of like AI being used as a tool. It genuinely is saving people time. It is making things more efficient, which I love. What for me I find the biggest is when AI is replacing expression, not efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key differentiator. And I think too many people aren't entirely sure who they are anymore.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to show up because, like you were saying earlier, people believe they need to show up a certain way or it needs to be just so in order to go out into the online space because, God forbid, someone sees it. That's the point. The point is for you to be able to reach and touch the lives of the right people for you. So I think standing in my truth of the right people will come across me, they will understand and read my intention of how and where and when and why I use AI and how and when and where and why I won't use AI. I may have done in the past, but I won't do anymore. And I'm way happy to have that discussion and to hands up and admit where I've over relied on it, because that's allowed me to now have the awareness
Exactly.
of how far I was leaning.
So if someone is listening or watching and their thing isn't AI, maybe your thing is fitness every day. Maybe your thing is diet culture. Maybe your thing is boundaries, conflict resolution, whatever your thing is that you went, this is something we talked about on every single episode in a different context. But at some point, you had an awareness and a discovery that whatever the thing is that you were doing was not in integrity for you, the version of you that you are right now. And the pendulum swung. So when we overcorrect, and then it has to come back. And then we just kind of keep going until we arrive at coherence. And I think that there is this funny flavor of I'm not allowed to be a beginner and a learner and also teach as I go. That, friends, I need you to realize that that's patriarchy and internalized misogyny, because there are very few and far between men who even entertain this line of thinking. They're not like, oh no, 3 years ago, I had a really strong opinion about this, and somebody might scroll through my Instagram feed and see who I used to be and then think I'm inauthentic and cancel me on the internet. Okay, so let's put a pin there for a second. Canceling isn't real. The feeling that you feel inside of your body is very real for you. You cannot be canceled for something you have self-ownership around. Cannot. There's a couple of people in our world. Reach out to me or Kaz if you're still listening to us and you want to know who they are. But there's a couple of people in my world who teach this in a really shock gate value kind of way that makes me actually question what I actually believe and stuff, because I've always been afraid to offend people. I've always been afraid to be too much in such a way that made someone not allowed to be themselves. So I would pull back. I was obsessed with goodness. I was obsessed with being morally correct. I was obsessed with so many things. So I got sucked into a little cult for a side quest for about 10 years. And it's why now I strive to be, I'm judgy, but it's fine. I strive to be one of the least judgmental people I can be, because we're very isolated in our worldview. Whether we like to be or not, the algorithm tries to keep us in a space. Right now, my algorithm, this is really good food for thought for you, and I'd love to get your take on this. Right now, my algorithm can't decide whether I'm a Black man or a Black woman. It's just sending me ads as though I need these amazing hand-sewn African garments. And it's also pushing all these beautiful Black women creators into my feed. And I find that to be a delightful compliment as a fat, non-binary Canadian person who's, 23andMe says 97% broadly European. So I would love to hear what's coming through for you around the way that we don't actually allow ourselves to be a work in progress.
Yeah, and I think it's a societal thing, right? However you were raised and where you live, the country you live in, the people that raise you and that you spend your time with, right? The more that we spend time with people that have these strong world views of things must look a certain way, or like to label people, there's plenty of people that just like, let's just stick a label on that person. This is who they are, what they're all about, which means that they are XYZ as well, without even knowing you. But
yeah, the amount of people who are surprised to find out things about me just keeps going.
Yeah, and I think that's come down from generations, right? And as human beings, we're always looking for some form of acceptance and validation for who we are as people. But somewhere along the line, we've always been too scared to openly experiment with that, and to express, well, this is how I feel, because you're like, well, you can't dress that way because that's not who you are. Like, that's not how I know you. And Lord forbid that you don't dress that way the next day and forever for the rest of your life, And I find it very interesting in the kind of human psychology of all it is, though, is you're challenging their perceptions of themselves, but they're projecting it onto you. Like, how dare you wear that, whatever.
Because they themselves wouldn't feel comfortable wearing that thing.
Yeah. Or have people look at them because they're wearing that thing. It's like, well, if I want to go out and wear, I don't know, like a pink ballet tutu, right? I'm 45 years old. Let's be real. I live in the northeast of Scotland. If I go outside in a pink ballet tutu, people are going to look at me for whatever reason.
They're going to be like, is this Faye?
Exactly.
Is this a real person? I feel like I might be getting tricked into eating some fairy snacks.
Well, what I do in my spare time, Cheryl, that's my business. But so many people would look at you and they would judge you on so many different levels. Like, how dare you wear that t-shirt? You're too old. It's too pink. You're too much. You're drawing too much attention. You should dress a certain way because you're a woman of a certain age. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are so many. There's just absolutely no way that you can make everyone happy with your expression of yourself. So why the fuck even bother? The only person you need to make happy is you. Because I know I'm not going to sit on my deathbed and go, gosh, I wish I had been more me for the last 90 years of my life, or however long I've got. Touch wood. It's not all the same.
I'm like, please let it not be 90 years.
But I think that's where it gets super interesting to me, is like seeing why people react the way that they do, but also being empathetic enough to understand that people react like that normally. normally based on their own upbringing and their own perceptions of people. Not always just because they're an asshole. I mean, sometimes there are people that are just assholes, let's be honest, and that have to let you know that you're doing it wrong.
Yes.
They're the very verbal people.
So this is the thing. We really, as a internet culture, and when I say we, I mean the people who are even going to bother listening and watching this in the first place, we get to decide whether or not we subscribe or unsubscribe to cancel culture. Yeah. So I'm on Threads like all the time. I used it as a way to play with self-expression and because I knew that my kind of people were going to be there. And it's really funny because my Instagram has been somewhat stagnant, crawling for its dear life towards 1,000 followers since I came fully out as autistic. It's like, because I'm not doing autistic educational content, people think I'm like not autistic or not showing up the way they think I should, or like whatever. If you have some kind of thought about me and you've seen me on the internet and it's like, I think you're like this, I'm so confused by your content. Hi, I am a 3/5 dimensional being. And I like more than one thing. And I don't have personal or professional social media. I just have social media because I have been on Facebook since it was invite only. And some questionable college bro invited me when I was in grade 11. And I was too naive to understand what was going on. I was also on hotornot.com. I think I got like a 6. It's fine. I'm Canadian, so that's like a gold medal around here. It's like, okay, that's an Olympics joke for anyone who's paying attention. Canada is like, we're just happy to be here, and sometimes we get medals. It's very much, we're so laid back, right? Unless you're from Toronto, rip. But like, I feel like we're in this. Everyone's too afraid to be who they actually are while secretly wanting everyone to love them for who they are. But it's not everyone you want to love you. It's you. Your inner self is asking your current self to get on board with your higher self and meet your own damn needs. If you actually took up space as you authentically are, you would stop feeling like an imposter. I was at a talk recently, and it was a women in business event, and they had Sarah Wayne Callis from The Walking Dead was there, and she had shared about how she was raised in Hawaii and how the story of women empowerment is baked into the culture. It's taught in their lore, in their mythology, in their worldview. And women gods and men gods are equal. And women don't have to tone it down, and women aren't squashed, and women are not taught from birth to defer everyone else and their needs. They're not taught to keep the peace. They're allowed to express all of their emotions. And she asked it at this event if anyone has or does struggle with imposter syndrome to put your hand up. And every single woman, every single guest in the room put their hand up, including me, because I have and sometimes do struggle with feelings of imposter syndrome. And she said, that's interesting because I never have. And I think it's tied to our origin story. And she talked about the Bible as being the foundation for colonial, post-colonial origin stories, about how the first woman ever, but let's just for the purposes of this discussion, the first woman ever was blamed for the man, and like all of these things. And we were taught it's your fault. You're the reason women have pain in childbirth, and you're the reason we got cut off from paradise, and you're the reason da 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 da. So from the beginning of forever, it's been ingrained in our societal culture, especially if we're European descent or currently, that women must squash everything about them and defer to the man because Eve started it. And so there's just this undercurrent of we're all shitty and we are resenting each other. and we're perpetually here just to prop up men. That's in it. And so we feel impostery because from conception, we inherit, don't grow too big, don't speak out of turn, don't lead anyone astray, da 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 da. We are made responsible for everyone else's emotions, everyone else's safety, everyone else's expression, their needs, their wants, their desires, their hopes, their fears, and we're not allowed to have our own. So the reason you feel like an imposter is because you're not honoring who you authentically are. How can working and playing in authentic voice expression and artistic expression and visual expression help us come home to who we authentically are? Because I think that is the magic of what you do. I know that I've been oh, this is an amazing question. I would have never thought of this. I think there was one where you were like, what song would you walk into and why? And I was like, I Ain't Your Mama is the song I would walk into. Because I'm not here to do the work for you, and I'm not here to coddle your emotions, but I am here to give you a hug, and I will walk alongside you, but I'm not going to do the work for you. So how can we use these expressive creative tools to access what's underneath?
So it's all about self-acceptance. And when I say self-acceptance, I mean accepting what is good about you, like your strength. I use the quotations because it's a very gray thing, right? As well as your weaknesses. That's not what I mean. Your areas for development, or however you want to word
The
it.
things that you are less on board with about yourself.
But the things you have not worked on, right? Not spent any intentional time on working, however you want to say it. All of those things all together make you a human being. And that's the entirety of the work that I do. Being able to accept yourself for what you are good at, what you can help and support other people with, regardless of where you feel like you are less than or whatever. You learn to leverage what you're very good at. And how you express that to somebody, you have to find your own way of how you want to communicate that with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way, in my personal opinion, to do that is to play around with your creative expression. Right? This is how we get innovative and new artistry and film styles and music genres. We would have none of those things if people didn't go, I wonder what happens when
We were just watching Bohemian Rhapsody, the biopic again. I remember when we watched it in theaters, my mind was blown because I knew, but I didn't know because I was born in 1986. So how could I, right? I was barely conscious as being a separate human being from my mother when Freddie Mercury died. So I missed some of that. But watching how they created the album and how he was like, do this, sing higher, sing higher, sing higher, sing even higher. And then they were putting dimes on the drums, and they were just making all this stuff are little digital samples we can use now, but they were doing things that nobody was doing. And every single person they talked to, except for their manager and a couple of people, were like, this is insane. No one's going to buy it. This is the way it's always been done. And I feel like you must feel like that a little bit sometimes when you see these conversations that are happening and you're like, friends, that was 2023's AI. 2026, a lot of you are following AI accounts who you think are real people and real coaches, and they're actually just talking robot videos. They're not even real people. And you're fooled.
Yeah. But this is where AI has been used in a manipulative way,
mm-hmm.
right? To try and recreate the human experience.
And it
that
can't.
other
There's
people, and
something
it
that's just very Stepford Wives about it. If you don't know that, go look it up.
yeah, like it, but it really is though, right? It's too polished. It's too perfect. It's not multifaceted. Like AI does one thing at a time.
They will never have hair like ours, frizzy and luminescent at the same time. I've even stopped hiding like my acne on camera because you can tell I'm a real person when you get the texture of my skin.
Right.
And when you
Exactly.
show up with me in person, I'm the same person, but more. I do know I need to be more silly online. I know that is a thing that I have a hard time with, but part of that is like my silly, quirky expression. A lot of it is tied to my autistic self, and I don't notice when I'm doing it. So full permission if you see me out in the wild to capture me doing my cute little weird things that I do so that I actually have a record of them, because I don't know that I'm doing them any more that like when you walk into the room and your cat is doing something like scientifically impossible, but also adorable. And you're like, oh my God, why do I get to have this creature? People are like that with you, but they can't be that way with you if you're too afraid to be all of yourself. Right.
And I think that's really important as well, because like I said, when with kind of more intimate in-person events, I think becoming more of the norm, it's really important that people know what you're like to spend time with.
Yeah.
Because if you're asking people to come fly to Scotland and spend a week with me, and you're thinking, well, I'm a certain type of person that I'm not, because ChatGPT told you I was, because of the way it's written for me, etc. You're gonna come here and have a shit time. Do you know what I mean? It's not gonna be right. And when people are investing their time, their effort, their energy, their money, their resources, etc., in somebody, they need to know the whole person in order to come and be in a safe space, to be in a transformative space, to get the results, to trust that other person to not just guide you, but also to allow you to have the space and the freedom and the self-efficacy to guide yourself, to make the mistakes and go, wait, no, let's try it this way, and for them to help you along the way. It's just, it boils my blood when I see people that all sound the same or all sound so different than the person I know that they are. I know a few. I'm like,
yeah, and I went through that like not this last 8 months, but the 8 months before. I disappeared from a lot of places, but I still had to keep posting online because my wife got sick, and I had to do my best to bridge the gap and be the main breadwinner. But like, I hated everything about the way I was taught to market what I do. And that's part of why this project even exists. I was like, what if I just recorded conversations that are the same level and the same flavor of the conversations that I have with my clients? Because I am not a coach or a mentor that tells you what to do. I'm not a coach or a mentor that has a 5-step like system that if you plug your thing in and you'll get like whatever. I am not a vending machine, and people are not cookies that come from a factory. I use all of my gifts, my intuition, my creativity, my big, beautiful brain, my sensory-ness as an autistic person, things I probably don't even know that I have gifts in. I use all of those in every context. So when you meet me on conversation, or you meet me in person, or you see me on the street, or we meet in an airport, or I'm out at a club, I haven't done that in a while, but you know, it could happen. Or you see me in the grocery store, I am in any of those contexts going to white girl dance because I'm terrible at dancing, but I have good rhythm. I am in any of those contexts going to sing and use squeaky voices. I am in any of those contexts going to go between being cheeky and sarcastic and very serious and very deep and very like whatever. I'm going to say the intrusive thought. I'm going to make a your mom joke. I'm going to yell nice butt to the person bent over fixing the sound at an in-person conference because I am all of me all of the time. As someone who grew up with a emotionally unhealthy mom who probably is a narcissist, but I'm not a psychologist, so I can't actually make that diagnosis. But if the shoe fits, anyway, I spent my whole early life erasing myself. And I'm a Leo, so it was really, really hard for me to do that. We're self-expressing when we have the flu. Like we can't help it. And people are magnetized towards me, so they'd be magnetized towards me, and then they would resent me for not being everything that they thought I was. And I was like, well, what's happening? And it's because I was chameleoning. I was being a different person in every aspect, and I had a complete, total fracture. And then I kept repeating that pattern. And then I remember one time I hired someone before I worked with you on the queer alchemy stuff. I had hired someone just before that to do pocket coaching graphics for me. And they came back and they were not me. The color was completely wrong. It felt like I couldn't explain why it wasn't me. But then I got the graphics back from you for queer alchemy. And my nail polish was half off on my fingers. And I was just animated and being silly. And I took those photos over here, sitting on a chair in front of the painted wall with my phone. And I just was like, what would I be doing if Kaz and I were having a conversation? And I just did that. Right. And those are some of my favorite branding photos ever. And it's not like they're Kaz like 1.0. They're not even to the level that they are now, but they're some of my favorites because you got all of me. You got the joy, you got the spice, you got the openness, you got the heart. You got all the metaphysics stuff in there. But one of the things that my clients keep saying to me again and again and again, even if they're not working with me yet and they're just like on the edge, I gave them permission to be all of themselves at any given moment because I don't hide and gatekeep. I won't go on most of the time. Sometimes I do because, again, I'm a human. I won't go on and like with my still like oozing wound to the internet anymore because I'm almost 40 and that's mostly a 20s, 30s thing. But I shared about how I wear my headphones to live events because of the sensory experience and too many competing sounds. And I shared about I was in the line for a drink once at an award ceremony, and the man in front of me was like, "What's on your headphones?" And I said, "Autism." And everyone laughed at him because he asked an intrusive question and got an awkward answer. And that's who I am. If you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you the answer, and you might be uncomfortable because it's actually none of your business. And people are like, "You've given me permission to reevaluate the kind of life that I want to have just by sharing yours." And that's the point. 100%. We're so stuck in marketing. Nobody wants to be marketed to anymore. Fuck convincing.
No, because people now, what they want to do is they want to witness you experiencing your life.
They want to know it's possible for them.
Yeah.
And they want to learn from the person who they won't have to explain their situation to.
Yes. Or to have to validate how or why what they want is what they want.
Yeah.
Because I've had to explain to a coach, like, you get that kind of awkward question. What do you really want? Like, how a life? Like, tell me, what does it look like? I'm like, it looks like sitting on my back patio, drinking a cup of tea with a book and no fucker coming near me for like a week.
High five. Yes.
That is what freedom looks like to me. And they were incensed.
Yeah, they think we're selling ourselves short because we don't want a jet and a Gucci bag.
Yeah. I'm like, what the hell do I want a handbag for? I'm like, what am I going to put in it? My lip balm, my bank card, like those fit in my pocket. Like,
I think you've got the wrong idea about the kind of life that I live.
Yeah, but I will not apologize for not wanting a life like that. I will not apologize for, I don't give a rat's ass who makes my jeans, as long as it's not some innocent child in another country. You know, I don't care what label is on them, as long as they fit, they're comfortable, and they were not made by exploitation. Like, that's my values, and that is my life, and that's how I want to live my life. It's how I want to express my life, and I don't care if my coach doesn't get that. You know, I'm like, I don't care if you don't get it. This is what I want, and this is what I'm doing. I'm not asking you to give me this result. I'll get this result myself. Thank you. I need your help with XYZ.
Yeah. So yeah, just to tie this all up for folks listening, because I feel like Kaz and I could just keep talking, and we would, and it would be delightful. What I'm hearing at the end of this episode is an invitation to stop all or nothing every single relationship, every single professional relationship, every single performative, creative style relationship, every single like interpersonal relationship, even your neighbors. Like, stop making it so all or nothing. And future tripping. Oh man, that's an episode on its own that maybe I'll record by myself. But like, you get to learn from the people that you feel drawn to without having to want every single thing that they have. Point number one. The mentor and coach that you and I met through, I was drawn to her because of her radical, unapologetic self-expression that triggered the fuck out of me, because she was saying, this is what I like. And people that I know and love and respect hate everything about those things. And then I was like, oh no, I'm going to lose community if they know that I'm learning from this person. And so if you're listening and you have any of that flavor, those people are already not your people. If you are needing to tone it down, change who and how you are, hide parts of yourselves in order to belong, you don't actually belong. One of the things that Kaz and I are both here to do in our lifetime is to teach people that you belong to yourself first. And when you belong to yourself, wherever you find yourself, you belong. And that is powerful. Because when you belong to you first, it doesn't matter what other people's opinions are, in the sense of it won't rock your life. You will still grieve loss. You will still get insecure because you're a human being. You will still kind of modify your voice or whatever, but instead of doing it to keep yourself safe, you're doing it to keep other people's nervous systems safe with you. And it becomes this beautiful thing. So like, I don't shout the same way with the same amount and flavor of F-bombs when I'm at the park where there are children as I do when I'm in my house and my cat's being an idiot. I'm not all like, hey, fuck you, dumb kids, knock it off. I'm not old enough and I'm not a dude, so I can't. But also, like, context matters. I want you to have the permission to be all of who you are right now while you get to where you're going, and not hiding and thinking you're not worth visibility. You're not worth taking up space. You're not worth twirling in a pink tutu while wearing maybe a vest with a tie, because why not? Avril Lavigne that shit up. Because of the age on your birth certificate. Like, we get this one short, beautiful life to live it to the full. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is if we get to live on our own rule books. So if you could give folks a cheeky piece of homework, I feel like that would be fun to wrap it up.
A cheeky piece of homework. I'm going to say to go out there today, do one small thing you've always thought you shouldn't do. Please keep it legal.
Yes, please do not get
Please keep it legal. Keep yourself safe. But do something, even if it is in a private space, if that's where you feel most comfortable, in a public space, whatever. But go out and just do it. If that is dancing naked in the rain, if that is streaking around your garden, like whatever. Like go on and just live your life.
Get a double
that you
XL
want
ice cream
to.
cone and eat it on a park bench. Whatever. Do it.
Yeah. Just whatever it is that would make you genuinely happy today. Like, please go do it. Life is far too short to not be finding the beauty in every single moment that's within it.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you everyone for coming along this meandering journey. I feel like we put 4 episodes into 1 episode, but that's who I am as a person. I can't help it. Yeah, so check out the show notes below. I have where to connect with Kaz, what's currently on offer, and like some invitations to go deeper with the content that we talked about. And of course, please do come and find us on social media. We are not, neither one of us is like here to make our follower count go up, in the sense of we don't actually care how big our audience is. We care of the quality of the people who are there. We are both here for the misfits and the weirdos and anyone else we catch in between. So if you're like, I don't know if they'd be friends with me, yes, we would. We absolutely would. Do you have a heartbeat and you try your best not to be an asshole sometimes? You're in. That's a low bar, but also a pretty high one.